starting.
Okay,
There we
it's live.
Hello, we
We're
are
live.
live.
We're live. And let
We
it be
move fast
noted
and we
that
have
I, in Greece, am wearing a sweater, and Anjali in
and I in
Massachusetts is
Massachusetts
sleeveless.
am sleeveless.
Yeah, because contrary to everybody thinks that Greece is just islands and whitewash, but let me tell you, here in the Pindus Mountains, we have stone, and it was rainy this afternoon. This is
It's
my
cloudy,
family.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and if I turn it this way, you can see the cliffs. Those are
The
I'm at
cliffs.
3,000 feet. The tops of those cliffs are at 6,000 feet. So anyway, it's a little chilly.
And that is going to be the setting of.
The Crooner writing workshop will
There you
take place
go.
at this table right behind me. I've tipped the chairs over because it was raining earlier, so I didn't want to, you know. But it takes place. This is a 150-year-old apple tree. Actually, probably older than that now, because I don't know if it predates the house, but anyway, the workshop
It's
takes place here in the courtyard of my ancestral family home. I'm the fifth generation Lazaridis person. I'm the only member of my generation through a bizarre quirk of my grandfather and his three brothers, who had between them three sons, who had between them one daughter. Like,
Yeah.
in any case, here we are. And I wanted to say that I've been reading manuscripts, as one does, trying to catch up on my requested manuscripts queue. And this has led me to think a lot about world building, but not in the science fiction way that you would think, oh, world building, we have to know how to fix the flux capacitor. But
That's
every
always the
novel.
example that you give, by the way.
I know, because somebody, I don't know who it was, who said, look, whenever you need to explain something, break it. Because then you can say, oh no, without the flux capacitor, we'll never be able to. And then you explain what the thing does.
There must be
Anyway,
some analogy in craft as to what the flux capacitor is of each
oh,
manuscript.
I think it's its own analogy, but still, so yeah, not every novel has to have world building, right? Even a realistic novel, you have to flesh out the world. And I think I've been
Not
very
just novels.
mindful. Well, yeah, anything,
I mean, like memoir
memoir
too, right?
and everything. Yeah, every narrative, you have to flesh out the world. And I've been very mindful of it because I think there's a way to write a novel with kind of all the bones, where you have plot, you have characters with names, you have a, a nominal setting, but there's still going to be a sense of something missing. And what it comes down to is, I think that sort of, you're not fleshing out the world. And one of the ways that I think you perceive the what's missing is with people's jobs. If someone has a job in your novel and you are vague about it, like they went to work and they had an
Yeah, no,
assignment.
like
Well, what kind of work and what kind of assignment? It just doesn't feel right. It feels kind of hollow if you
and a
don't
lot.
expand in that way. And you don't give a lot of information. You have to hint, but hint at a specificity, not hint at a vagueness.
Yes,
You have to
and
hint
actually
at a
on that
specificity.
on that
No, go ahead.
topic, I think that there's actually very few books, novels, let's say, since we're talking about novels, that do acknowledge that the characters have jobs. Like, there's a lot of stories that tend to take place,
Yeah,
I don't know, in like over a summer on vacation. I don't know, that like neatly
yeah,
avoid
yeah.
the concept of people needing to actually make a living.
I think that's true, and I think we take note of that when there is work
Yeah,
featured in
yeah.
the storyline or in the character's
Hmm.
backstory or whatever. But so yeah, I was thinking about that a lot. That you can't. I mean, it's almost like you're writing the outline and you haven't finished fleshing out the rest of the world. And like the you need to have the details of it because it will matter. Actually,
Hmm.
it will
Hmm.
matter. Like,
I
I'm thinking
actually
like,
also really like. I like. I like when people have jobs in stories, because often
well, you
when
learn
people do
something,
it
right?
well, you learn something, and sometimes you learn of jobs you didn't even know existed, ways that people
Yeah,
spend their lives that it didn't even
that's
occur to you
true.
that, "Oh, yeah, there's somebody who has to do that."
I used
And
to
that
it
immediately makes it more interesting to me.
it's true. I used to have a fantasy, maybe I still do, of writing a novel in which the character was a scissor sharpener who went around to all the salons. Like in Boston, it would be on Newbury Street, but somebody does that.
There
I
is
know
somebody
this
who
from
does
there is a person who goes
oh, wow.
around to the salons and takes the scissors and sharpens them and brings them back. And I know this from Ed, who cut my hair for many, many years until he retired. And there was a day when he was like, "Oh yeah, the scissor sharpener is here," and I was like, "Wait, what?"
That's totally
But
a character.
it's a job. It's a job. Someone
Yeah.
has to do it. And like, so what kind
These are
of
linked short
person?
stories that are linked by the
Yeah, yeah,
guy
yeah,
or
yeah.
the woman
That's
who's
right. That's
going
right.
around sharpening the the
But it
scissors.
it matters. I mean, like, in the same way that, I don't know, I'm always fascinated to see, like, with athletes, how a particular sport shapes, or any activity, shapes a person's body. Like,
Mhm.
an old friend of mine once, I was like, "Oh, I think she is a pianist because of the way she holds her hands," and it turned out I
Their
was
hands.
correct. But there was something about her, the way her fingers were, like,
Mhm.
muscular and agile, and I was like,
Hmm.
"Oh, this is the piano." So, like, it's interesting. It makes a difference to who you are as a person, what you do with your
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
And I think even things like who's pursuing you. We think, like, there's that phrase we use, like, "Oh, pursued by the authorities." Well, which authorities? Is it a sheriff? Is it the police? Is it the SEC? Is it the IRS? Is it the political police? Is it the, who? That
Mhm.
makes a difference in the story.
Oh, yeah. It makes a
So
big
the
difference.
nuance needs to be there, but you don't have to clobber everybody over the head with it, but you need to be hinting at
Yeah.
something that is specific, not just like a vagueness.
And also
Um,
for most people, unless they have the uh, advantage of having been born into money,
mm,
for most people, their job takes up a lot of their time and a lot of their
right.
attention
Exactly.
and like
Right.
just a lot of their life. And so, whatever
Right.
story they're experiencing, it doesn't just take place separately from that
Right.
completely
Exactly. Yeah.
for the most part.
Right. So I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about, like, it's so hard when you're shaping a novel to feel compelled to, like, "Oh, I know where the story is going. I know I have to put these things in. Bam, 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 bam. Here are the steps in the story." And then to feel like, "Oh no, is this now a detour if I add something like extra to flesh it out?" It's really hard to know what adds and what
Hmm.
detours.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
you could argue that a lot of the stuff that you would add as part of your world building, or
Well, it
or
depends if it's really advancing
another
the plot
piece
or
of
not.
the story.
We have a book that we haven't announced yet, so I'm not going to be very specific yet because I don't
Oh,
want
yeah,
to.
you can't talk about that.
I'm not. No, no. But
Yeah.
what I'm going to say is, this is a fall 27 book. But
Yeah.
one of the things that really drew me to it is that one of the characters has a job that is actually so woven into the story. And so,
Hmm.
well, I'm just going to say he works for the Department of Environmental Protection in New
Mhm.
York City. And
Mhm.
that really shapes what he notices. If your job
Mhm.
is at the DEP and when you're walking around a city, you're going to notice things about the hydrants, the flooding somewhere, or like infrastructural issues that other
Right.
people might not
Right.
even notice or might just
Right.
notice and just kind of move on. And you're going to realize, oh, wait, there's a problem because it means that X, Y, Z.
Right.
And so
Oh, that's true. It's just like,
seeing
I'm just
the
thinking
world
now,
through someone's eyes like that is great.
like walking around anywhere with my husband, the architect. It's
Right.
like you're walking down the street and he's like, "Oh, look at that gable. Look what they did."
Exactly.
Oh, oh my God. But it
But
is. It's how you see the world, or in the
yeah.
case of some characters, it would be something that you would fight, right? That you
Hmm.
would have a job that wouldn't allow you to see the world in the way that you want to or
Right.
habitually see the world, but it's always going
Right.
to be there. It's always going to be a factor. It's
Yeah.
always going to be a factor. And I think people are remiss if they, like, I get it for the beginning phase where you just kind of want to lay down the basics if that's how you operate. I get feeling like you need to embroider later and fill
Hmm.
in Like, I don't know, I'm not a gardener, but, you have your basic plants and then you put in the stuff that
Yeah,
really
around
decorate
it.
it.
Yeah.
I get that, but I think it's not done until you've added those other layers that flesh out the whole thing.
So what's interesting to me is that as we're talking about this, and I was thinking about book titles also, but what's interesting to me is that certain historical fiction often has a protagonist whose identity in the book is primarily their occupation. I'm thinking of books that have titles like, The Watchmaker's Daughter, or they're often the so and so's
Oh,
somebody's a
yeah.
woman, and that's a whole other thing I'm not going to talk about. But the
Yeah,
titles of historical fiction where the protagonist's
that's
occupation
true.
is the main thing. And is that because it used to be that there were more, guilds around certain occupations, or that
Well, and
people's
the
occupations were
occupations
more visible
I was gonna
somehow?
say the
A
occupations
lot
are
of our
more
work is
readily
invisible.
understandable, right?
Mhm.
The occupations are more readily understandable because you're doing something with your hands
A lot of them are more
often.
physical, right?
You're
Right.
like, there's a world that goes with it, whereas I think with some occupations, some people have now, what does it look like? It looks like writers writing. You're sitting at a computer.
Right. Looks like editors at the
Like, you
yeah.
all look the same. You're just sitting at a
Right.
computer. So what on earth could you possibly describe, right? If you're not,
Right.
like,
I
tapping
mean,
lace
it still
or
changes
making
the lens through
croissants
which
or
you're looking at the world, but it doesn't
yeah.
impact your
Oh,
physical being as much, for
I
example.
it's like, in the book that I will never stop talking about, Time of the Child by Niall Williams, in that one and I read the one that comes before it, This Is Happiness, but in Time of the Child, the one of the main characters that he follows is the doctor in the village in Ireland,
Mhm.
and the doctor always, whenever he encounters someone, he thinks diagnosis. He
Yeah.
thinks of the
Yeah.
diagnoses, and that makes such sense.
Mhm.
That of course you would look at somebody and say, "Oh, he has gout," or, "Oh, she has, a sprained ankle," or whatever.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, I'm thinking about,
oh,
I mean,
I just
go ahead.
well, I wanted this is my other favorite book in the world. That is an opportunity talking about like when is something a distraction, and
Mhm.
when does it kind of flesh out the world. The End of Vandalism, which
Mhm.
is a novel that I think originally they were published as short stories, by Tom Drury, but it's a novel. And there's a scene in that novel that puzzles and delights me every time I read the novel, where one of the main characters, Louise, goes over to visit her mother, and the conversation they're going to have is an important conversation. It's important to the story. But on the way to her mother's house, like there's a bucket lying on the ground next to the path so the mother to the
Mhm.
door. It has absolutely zero significance to the story. And yet, when Louise is in her mother's house, she stands at the kitchen window. I think it's the kitchen window, and she looks out and she says, "Whose bucket is that? Is that your bucket?" And I was like, "No, I don't know. That's Hans's bucket." And Louise is like, "Oh," and that's it. But it's a distraction. Like it totally doesn't need to be there.
Right.
But
So why was it not cut, do you think?
it fleshes out the world. It's
It
one of the
does.
things that
Yes.
contributes to the picture
True.
of the world.
And that reminds me of when I was working on my second novel, and it takes place in India, and there's a character who honestly doesn't have much of a role, but she's always in the room. And yeah, it's an older character, and
Yeah.
she has some small role, but she could be taken out. But the fact
Uh-huh.
is, if you travel in India and you go to homes that have a lot of people, there's often some random person sitting there, and you have no idea why they're there, and nobody asks, and nobody tells you, and maybe they're related or maybe not, and maybe they're asleep, and
Yeah.
maybe they're awake, but, like, that's part of the world. I remember going to visit relatives and seeing some elderly person just kinda sitting there,
Uh-huh.
and nobody
And you
says, "Oh,
greet
this is
them.
so
You
and
greet them.
so."
Right.
You greet them,
But you still
and you
say,
call them
hello, good
auntie
evening.
because everybody's
Yeah, yeah,
auntie,
yeah.
but you actually have no idea who it is, and nobody feels compelled to explain it. They're just
Uh-huh.
there. They're like the furniture. They're part. And so, when an editor was like, "Oh, you don't need this character there. I was like, but actually, I kind of do. It's like the bucket.
It's the
I
bucket.
need her there.
It's the bucket.
She's
Yeah.
part of the house. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So when is something a bucket, and when is it just
Yes.
useless?
When is a bucket
Get
just a
rid of it.
bucket, and when is it more
When
than that?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It's 12:15,
Uh,
so we're gonna leave
it's
people on this
12:15.
very philosophical point.
Yeah. When is a bucket just a bucket? All right.
All right.
Okay.
See you later. Bye, everyone.
Bye.